What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the NHL Front and Center Ice Show. We got a few faces back. Nade's Pie hasn't been here since last Tuesday. Took Saturday off from the show, but we're here now. I'm Jared, your host, replacing Zarks because he's on a little bit of a trip. But the NHL is going crazy right now. Tons of trades. We had Timo Meier on the move. Patrick Kane just got traded. We have Tanner Jeannot getting traded for 70 picks. It's been a crazy couple of days for the NHL, and we have an awesome 10-gamer here today. 2-7 totals, and then a bunch that are 6 or under. So it's a really interesting day. We have that $19 qualifier, one of the last spots in the DraftKings Live Final, which is awesome. But first, let's introduce everybody. Matty, welcome back. How's it going? How are we feeling about all these trades? And what do you think the Wild are going to do here in the next couple of days?
Yeah, it's been an interesting week. We got Timo going from the West Coast to the East Coast, so that should be interesting. I'm hoping they pair him with my boy Hughes, and we get to see some fireworks there. And then everybody's excited about Patty Kane going to the Big Apple. I think they got a little bit worse defensively, but I think they're going to need the scoring if they're going to compete with some of these big dogs in the East. As for my squad, I don't know what the hell they're doing. We have some dead money that we're still paying for Suter and Parisi. So I don't think Billy's looking to take any contracts on that are going to be where you have 2 or 3 years left or something like that. So it's going to be interesting to see what we do. I'm pretty good friends with the Wild Beat, and we talk quite a bit. I've been hearing rumors about JVR and Christian Dvorak a lot in the last 24 hours. So we'll have to see what happens. Other than that, we got a nice slate. It was a good Sunday. I stacked up the Leafs and Preds, and last night I had Sens and Avs. So it's gone pretty well for me the last couple of days.
Nice. All right, Nate, how's it going? Welcome back. How have you been the past week?
Good. I had to be a viewer from the phone while I was driving on Thursday. Owned the panel with Gibson again from the chat, but overall I didn't even play NHL, which was funny. I was just in there razzing the squad a little bit. Yeah, razzing the squad a little bit. I mean, I understand the Ovi Stroke Fest, but come on. I mean, I'll play Gibson when the Caps are chalk. So yeah, that was fun, but overall, I mean, went completely off the wall last night. It worked. If I would have filled up my core differently with the other 3 spots that I left off the core for the members, I saw the one dude in chat placed decent in the 150 with my core, and it felt really dusty coring some Chicago Blackhawks last night, but they got it done for the value at least. And then Detroit, I mean, Detroit had all the chances. That was probably one of the worst officiated games I've ever seen in my life. The refs were just throwing out penalties left and right. I think 3/4 of the game was played from the box, which leads to a lot of scoring, and that's where the Sens definitely capitalized and the Wings didn't. But we regroup here and dive into this 10-game slate here. There's some really good spots, really interesting spots here, and yeah, should be interesting. Got my Yotes back on home ice here, so it's always fun when I see that. And they're playing they're playing the Blackhawks. So my heart might be torn here tonight. My love for the 2 shitters in the league, but we'll break that game down later. But overall, yeah, excited to break it down.
Awesome. And a Tanner being placed on the move was the talk of the town this week, but we have not moved our Tanner yet. So how you doing?
I just wish I was worth as much as the other Tanner apparently is. But happy to be here after, a little break on Saturday. But yeah, ready to talk some puck with the boys. A lot of things going on in the league.
Sweet. So we have a 10-gamer. We'll get into it in a sec, but make sure you drop a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have great content. So if you haven't subscribed yet to Run Pure Sports, get over to our website. We have some awesome packages. You'll get an NHL playbook and core plays from the 2 guys on the bottom of the screen, which has been an absolute printer all season long, which has been awesome. And Tanner puts out a free article for all of his bets every week, so make sure you check that out as well. But please like and subscribe our YouTube so we can keep on going with these shows. We've had a lot of fun all season long, so let's keep it up. But it's a big slate, so let's get into it. Our first game at 7 o'clock. We have 2 games, but we'll start with a rematch of last night. Detroit is still on the road against Ottawa. Ottawa is minus 135 to win with a 6.5 total. Tanner, the Senators are 17-12-2 at home, and they won last night in the same matchup. Do you think they can do it again?
Yeah, I don't know. I think a big reason they won last night was, like Nate's I was saying, the penalties last night. Their power play was just clicking the whole time. I don't think Detroit really had a chance to get going, but I do like the Red Wings tonight. Probably my favorite dog on the slate at plus 110. The goaltending is a big thing for me tonight. They get Husso in net, and I think he's a big step up from Hellberg, and vice versa going the other way. We got Talbot in net for the Senators last night, and I can't off the top of my head. Magnus Sogard, I just don't think he's quite up to par. And there are a lot of fireworks at the end of that game last night. I mean, Brady Tkachuk trying to fight the entire Red Wings bench, so it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. But I do think yesterday I really like the over. Today I actually like the under a bit more at 6.5 or minus 115. I just think, yeah, like I said, penalties were a huge factor in the game yesterday. 3 of the 9 goals scored were on the power play. I just think teams are going to try to tighten it up a little bit. And Detroit can play a more defensive game style if need be. I know Ottawa's the home team and dictates the matchups, and they like to play fast. But I do like the Red Wings here to kind of get a nice bounce back game. I like Husso a lot here. I don't mind him for the saves. I mean, Ottawa does take a ton of shots regardless of game style. His save props 28.5 for minus 115. I definitely think that hits tonight. I think he gets maybe not the 42 shots that Senators put up last night, but I definitely think they hit that 30-31 shot mark, and maybe a few sneak past him. But I do really like the Wings tonight.
Awesome. Nades, I thought I saw you were on the Red Wings last night. Are we on them here again for daily fantasy purposes?
Yeah. So it's another interesting spot here. The Wings still remain pretty cheap. I mean, Bertuzzi's still 3,700 here. He's playing well, seeing close to 20 minutes at 3,700, getting top power play run. That's a very fair price tag. He scored last night. Dylan Larkin, 6,600, still remains pretty cheap. Hit the post a couple times last night, and we had some members over here going absolutely nuts over him, but he still scored 12 DraftKings points, being absolutely abysmal. He's the worst player in the league, I was told. So it was nice to see him crunch out 12 DraftKings points there and grind it out for us. And Perron there as well, 3,900. Still that whole top line is still cheap, so I wouldn't mind going back to them. But I'm kind of with Tanner here. These teams just saw each other last night. They're on a back-to-back here. There was a ton of penalties called. I don't have the number, but it was absolutely ridiculous. And some of the calls were extremely, extremely soft. And that's where Ottawa did a lot of their scoring. Bravo to them for cashing in on it. But you take a lot of those penalties away, and I think it's probably last night like a 3-1, 3-2 type game. So we've seen a lot more scoring due to that. Could it happen again here? Yeah, absolutely could. Ottawa's the leading the league in power play opportunities against on home ice in the league. So maybe that flips, and maybe Detroit benefits this time, right? From this game. They did have some bad luck last night on the power play. So I wouldn't mind playing some of that power play. But one guy for Detroit I did want to call out is my guy, Jake Wallman. The dude just got paid. So he just got paid narrative. If he's not blocking shots, he's shooting the puck. Last game, obviously last night, he had career high 7 blocks. The dude was a stone wall in front of the net. But the game before that, he had 8 shots on net. So if they're chasing, I like him quite a bit. And especially Detroit obviously likes what they've seen. I think he just signed, a 3-year extension, right, with Detroit. 2 or 3 year extension, got paid. So I can see him pretty motivated. And he's right around 20 minutes per game. He's 4,200. So pretty cheap price tag there. On the Sens side, I think they draw a decent amount of ownership after the box scores last night are pretty inflated. So I don't know if I'd go back to the Sens here. Overall, I think this game kind of plays a little bit under, and I'll let other people chase these Senators here. I think Husso is a way better goaltender than Hellberg, even though Hellberg did stand on his head beginning of that game. I mean, some of those saves he made were absolutely incredible. The Senators could have scored 8-9 goals last night because some of those Hellberg saves were crazy. But overall, not a ton of interest here. Detroit's definitely still pretty cheap, especially that top line. And I don't think they get a ton of ownership. They weren't very owned last night, and it was a 5-game slate. So I feel like they're going to be even lower owned tonight here. And these dudes are still cheap and getting a ton of minutes. So don't mind it.
Yeah, Wallman was playing crazy last night. He had like 7 blocks. It was crazy. That Senators top line last night all had 20 DK points or more. Matty, is that a line that you're interested in going back to, or are you kind of in the same boat as Nades?
Yeah, I don't know that I go back to them tonight, and it's not because I don't like the Sens. I just prefer other options on this slate.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime you're playing the same team on a back-to-back, you get an idea of what your opponent's trying to do here. Now, can Brady still go ballistic? Yeah, you damn right he can. Brady's one of the best wingers in hockey, in my opinion. He does it all. He's a really good two-way player. But as you guys mentioned, Husso's in net, so I think that's an upgrade, for the Wings here. Obviously, like I just said, they're playing on a back-to-back. And for me, it comes down to pricing versus matchup. Last night we only had 5 games, so we're looking at a little bit of a different structure than we are tonight with 10. I don't mind the Wings here, and I put that in the playbook simply because of their pricing. They're cheap. Perron, Raymond, Fabry, Bertuzzi, they're all under $4,000. I mean, pick your poison on who you like. But I don't know that I want to pay $7K for Timmy Stu tonight or close to $8K for Brady with some of these other spots on the slate.
Yeah, for sure. They have definitely gone up in price. Sweet. We'll head over to our other 7 o'clock game. We got the Battle of Florida. So the Panthers plus 140 heading into Amalie Arena to take on the Fighting Tanner Denos. We have a 7 total here, so a big total. Tanner, 4 of the last 5 games between these two have gone under 6.5. Do you think that we have that again here tonight in this matchup?
No, I think we hit that here. No Barkov in the lineup for the Panthers is a huge blow to that team. He's one of the best defensive players in the league as far as forwards go, and they're also missing Sam Bennett there as their secondary center. So I just think this is going to be a tough matchup. I know last game they played the Panthers, lit him up. Kachuk, I think, had 5 points or something like that. But I don't know. I don't think I see that happening again tonight. Tampa's been playing better. It's just I really like them tonight. Point's been on a tear lately. I think he gets a goal. I forgot to write down what that pays out. Probably about plus 110 or 115. It seems to be the trend on him. But yeah, I like the Bolts here. I think you can almost take that puck line there, minus 1.5 or plus 140. Big fan of that. I just think they kind of give a dominating performance here. They've been playing significantly better. And like I said, no Barkov and Bennett is going to be a huge blow to them. You can parlay just get a little extra juice on that. Just parlay the Bolts money line with over 5.5 and you get plus 125. I don't hate that. I've been getting kind of chewed up from these same game parlays, but just to try to add a little bit of juice there. But I do like that a lot. Minus 175 isn't my favorite. If you go regulation, you can get minus 105. I don't mind that whatsoever. I think we see a decent amount of goals here. And I know I think the Bolts absolutely overpaid for Tanner Jeannot, but looking at that third line now, that's a scruffy, tough to play against third line. So, and then that's a big reason Tampa won those back-to-back cups was pretty much their third line. So I really like that. And I think that's going to give them great depth play and kind of give them more of a playoff field team than they've had for the majority of this season so far. So I really like them tonight.
Cool. Yeah, the Tampa top line has been on a tear. Stamkos has 7 goals in his last 11 games in Florida. But the Lightning mixed up their lines a little bit after that trade. So we have Killorn jumping up to the top line. Do you have any interest in any of these pieces? It's definitely hard to build this way with some of the guys at center that being all on one line, and it's just a little mixed bag. So, Matty, how are you playing this Tampa offense?
Yeah, so Coop doing Cooper things, right? He went all blender this morning in practice, so we've got some line line changes here. We got Killorn bumping up to the top line. We got Hagel dropping down with Cirelli and Stamkos. In my opinion, at least, I think it's pretty clear that the Cirelli, Hagel, Stamkos line will be taking on the Lundell, Chucky, and Reinhart line. I'll be going right back to the Tampa studs in Point and Kucherov. I know they're going to be chalky. I really don't care. They've been absolutely spectacular on home ice all year long. Braden Point has 42 points in 29 games at home. And Kucherov has, let me see here, what's he got? Kucherov's got 50 points in 29 games at home. That top line's just been absolutely dominant on home ice. The other change we have on the power play is it looks like Sergachev is going to be flipping back to the top power play. Yep. Obviously, he's cheaper than Hedman. Victor Hedman's still fine and probably a nice pivot in like large field GPP stuffs. But if Sergachev is going to get that top power play run, I have no issue with him at all. He comes in at 5,700. He's going to work that first PK unit as well. I can't decide what I want to do with the Cats tonight. I'm not sure if I want to run it back with them or not. They still have some cheap pieces. Lundell and Luostarinen are both cheap. Obviously, I'm one of the biggest Carter Verhaeghe fans on the planet. I think the kid's an absolute stud, but his price is getting up there as well too. I think he's a little over $7,000 tonight. So I'm not going to overthink this one with Bennett and Sasha out. I like the Bolts top line. I'll be heavy on Point and Kucherov, and I'll find somewhere else to get different.
Awesome, Nate. How are you attacking? We have the cheap guys on the Cat side, and then obviously a bunch of expensive players on the Tampa side. How are you playing out?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in lockstep here with Matty. As soon as I saw the news this morning that Sasha and Sam B were going to be out here for the Cats, I said right away, it's a smash here for the Bolts. Every time Barkov's out of there, these Cats just get demolished, and now they're playing Tampa, who's playing great hockey, and especially on home ice. It's the big dogs here for Tampa for me. Kucherov, Killorn's got a very nice bump in hopefully production, bumping up to that top line, getting the top power play. He's 4,100. That's a cheap price tag. And Braden Point, I mean, this dude, we've been playing this dude all year. 7,100 is too cheap in this matchup, I think. I don't care that they're going to have ownership. It's 10-game slate.
Whoa. We got breaking news, boys. The Wild did something.
Oh.
They have traded for Marcus Johansson from the Capitals for a third-round pick. I can live with that.
Yeah, not bad.
All right. We'll take that. Hopefully we got some more coming to Minnesota, but we'll let it play out. I mean, these GMs, I think, all hang out to the bar together and are all off their rocker, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, back to the Bolts here. Yeah, Braden Point, incredible play, and I'm with Matty there. I think people still go to Hedman here. I prefer Sergachev, especially getting that top bump on the power play there. I think that gives him a pretty good boost. And then I think you can also play a guy like Ross Colton again, or take some stabs at this third line with apparently the best player in the league and Tanner Jeannot. So Ross Colton, 15 shots, 2 goals and an assist over his last 5. He is on home ice, so he's going to have a little bit better matchups, I think, here as well. And he's when he's out there, he fires the puck and he has the ability to score. So I don't mind that. He's still cheap. If you're looking for some value there on the Bolts, I've done it a couple times this year where I play like a Point Kucherov, Sergachev, and then I'll throw in like a Ross Colton, right, to add to that stack instead of like a fully four-man correlated stack. If I need some salary, I'll throw in like a guy like Ross Colton or something. But we do have some really, really good value plays that we're going to talk about that are min-priced or close to min-priced here coming up in some of these teams. So I don't know if I need to get to Ross Colton, but he's shown upside, 20-point DraftKings upside on the year. On the Cats, I don't think I really get to the Cats much. If I do, it would be some of these cheap guys like Carter Verhaeghe, Duclair, E2, those guys. I don't think I'm going to pay any sort of salary for like Chucky or Reinhart or Lundell or any of those guys. It would just be kind of a cheap one-offs for Hag. 22 shots, 3 goals, and 3 assists in his last 5. So sees right around 18, 19 minutes of ice time. You can always go to a guy like that, but not a ton of interest on the Cat side for me.
Yeah, I respect you not making the attempt to say Luosterainen. I saw you sneak past it there. But one of the most exciting matchups on the slate at 7:30, we have the Columbus Blue Jackets plus 160 heading into KeyBank Center against the Buffalo Sabres at minus 190. We have a 7 total here as well, just like the last game. And you know, a lot of people are excited to play Buffalo here on this slate. It's definitely going to be one of the most chalky spots on the slate. We have Tage Thompson. Last time he played this team, he had that 5-goal game, 63 fantasy points. So how are we going to handle this one? Because we know a lot of chalk's going to come in on this. Nate Spy, how do we want to play this Buffalo team exactly?
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. I'm not chasing the Cousins ceiling game. That's one thing off the top. I'm not going to play him. I know he gets top power play run with the other guys, but it's hard to argue with Tage Thompson. I mean, the dude's back heating up again, and we've seen what happens when he gets like this. And now he gets Columbus on home ice here, which is they're just not a good hockey team. They have a terrible penalty kill. Buffalo's power play hasn't been great over the last 5 home games. I mean, they're operating under a 10%, which is kind of crazy to see because earlier this year they were a solid power play unit. So Tage Thompson, 8,300. I think that's too cheap for him. I mean, the dude has 50-point upside. He's shown it this year. 38, 24, and 22 DraftKings points in his last 3. Averaging right around 5 shots per game. I think he's a great play, obviously. And his line mates there as well, right, with Skinner. And it does look like Jack Quinn. Apparently he's getting the bump to the top line. I don't know if I get to a guy like Jack Quinn, I'll tell you that. But if you need it, you can certainly throw him in there. But it's pretty much Tage Thompson and Skinner for me is my interest. I mean, Tage has 4 goals, 5 assists, 23 shots on net over his last 5, and Skinner's right there with him, 14 shots, 5 goals, and 3 assists over his last 5. Kind of a sneaky guy if you're looking for kind of just a goal plugger. Victor Olofsson down there on the third line hasn't been super active as of late, but he's always a threat to pot one here. So I don't mind him, but my main interest here is Skinner and Tage Thompson. And then on the defensive side, Owen Power, I think, is an absolutely elite play. Dahlin is still out. So Owen Power, I think he's mid-4s in price, going to get top power play run with this power play unit, along with Victor Olofsson there. So if you want to go like a Tage Thompson, Skinner, Power, Olofsson, leave Cousins off there where the game log watchers are certainly going to click his name at his price tag when they see 55 DraftKings points last game. But, I mean, that's few and far between. I'm never going to chase that. I hate playing guys off a ceiling game. So pretty much those 4 are my main interests here, Skinner, Tage, Power, and Olofsson. On the Jackets side, I don't have a ton of interest, but, I mean, Buffalo is the number 1 team for goals against on home ice over the last 5. Their expected goals against is slightly lower. So you can certainly, if you want, pick some of these guys off on Columbus. Patrick Laine always has upside. Jack Roslovitz actually playing pretty good, and he's got a pretty decent price tag there. 12 shots, 2 goals, 3 assists over his last 5. Kent Johnson remains pretty cheap. And then obviously that top line too, Boone Jenner, Kirill Marchenko. I don't know if I get to Johnny Gaudreau. He's seeing right around 13 minutes ice time over his last 5. He's just not very active out there. I mean, he's probably second guessing why he chose or why he ended up in Columbus. But I mean, he doesn't really have a choice, right? When they say, well, you're trading, you're going to Columbus. So not a ton of interest on the Columbus side, but yeah, I certainly think you can make a case for those top 4 guys on that power play for Buffalo for me.
Cool. Yeah, it seems like most people are going to go with that. Tage Thompson, Jeff Skinner and Owen Power build a little bit. So, Matty, are you going to eat that chalk? And do you have any interest on the Blue Jackets side as well?
I'm definitely going to play Mr. Thompson tonight, but I don't think I'm going to go with Skinner. I'm prioritizing centers tonight. There's a few that I like. We already talked about Braden Point, and I really like Tage. So I'm going to go with him. Obviously, Jack Quinn's up there skating on the top line. He's $3,200. I would expect him to carry some ownership. Owen Powers, damn near a stone cold lock for me, and I wrote that in the playbook. With Rasmus out, he's going to be on that top power play. Columbus is absolutely putrid against D-men. I know Power played 27 damn minutes the other night. He's going to play anywhere from 23 to 27 tonight, and I have absolutely no doubt about that. Olofsson, like Nate's mentioned, he's sneaky tonight. He's been ice cold. The guy can't buy a goal. He's going through the same sort of stretch that Svechnikov went through. He has not scored in a month and 2 days. It's been a long time. I'm a little bit different than Nate's here. I like a lot of these Columbus pieces. The Sabres are as loose as the Kardashian sisters. They're not good. They give up goals. I like Jack Roslovic. I like Kent Johnson, Kirill Marchenko. Those are all guys who are under $5,000, all getting power play run. They're all getting solid minutes. I think this could be very similar to the style of game that we saw the other, Saturday afternoon with Washington, like where you see a 6-4, 7-4 game, something like that. Who's starting for Buffalo tonight? I didn't see when I built the playbook who was confirmed for them.
Craig Anderson.
Craig Anderson, absolutely, he could absolutely go nuts. He owns a couple of the highest save things, in NHL history, but I'm going to bet on them being exactly who they've been all year long and not good defensively. So I'm hoping this game turns into like a 6-4 shootout, 7-4 shootout. We just watched the Caps put 4 goals up on them, and the Caps ain't been scoring on anybody. So that's kind of where I'm at here. I like both sides of this. I like the Columbus value just because they're going to be far less choppy than a Jack Quinn or a Nino Niederreiter, who we're going to talk about here in a little bit, who's less than Tanner Gino for some goddamn reason. So that's kind of where I'm at with this one. One of my favorite game stacks of the night.
Sweet. Yeah, so Matty likes a little over in this game. Tanner, are you leaning towards the same way?
Yeah, anytime the Sabres are playing, the over is in play. Like you said, loosen the Kardashian sisters. So over 7 for plus 110. I think that's a no-brainer. Like you said, Tage Thompson, he's been heating up. He's minus 102 as a goal scorer. I tend not to take goal scorers when they have the minus sign next to them. I prefer the plus sign, but minus 102 is not terrible. You get plus 140 for Tage Thompson to record over 1.5 points. Obviously, he did that in the first 30 seconds. I think he did that in warm-ups against him last time. So I don't mind that at all. Going to Jack Quinn, like you said, he's in a great spot for him to record a point. You get plus 135 for that on DraftKings. A guy in that position in a game that, like Matty said, should have or could have close to 10 goals tonight. I don't hate that whatsoever. Owen Power, I really wish I could find a points prop for him. If you can find one, I'd be all over that. For a goal prop for him, he's plus 510 as a goal scorer. Like they said, Columbus is just terrible against defensemen. They allow 11 or 12 shots to defensemen. He's on that power play. Power play hasn't been as good lately, but he's just going to get a ton of looks. Dahlin gets 5-6 shots a game in games that play out like this. So I like that a lot. I just think the Sabres hand it to him here. Tage Thompson is just a freak, and he's on home ice. He's just going to be so hard to play against. Even if the Sabres, like we said, we expect a ton of goals here, but if you want to play it safer just to get more juice out of the Sabres money line, parlay that with the over 5.5, and you get plus 110. Just a simple way to get plus money on a team that I think should have a very good chance at winning. Sticking with just the regular over, if you want the extra juice, you get plus 150 for the Sabres with the over 6.5. So it just depends on how many goals you think are scored here. I think we see a decent amount. I don't even hate them because the Sabres, like I said, aren't great defensively. So the over 7 plus 110, I just think there's going to be a ton of goals here. Going back the other way, Kirill Marchenko is probably one of my favorite on the Columbus side. He's plus 190 as a goal scorer. He's on that right side on the power play, and he can absolutely let it fly when he wants to. So I really like him tonight as a goal scorer on the Columbus side.
Sweet. Yeah, so it looks like we're looking for a lot of goals tonight. hopefully as many as Kim Kardashian's relationships there are. So we will move over to the 8 o'clock games. We have a decent amount of them. We have 4 games at 8 o'clock. The first one, we have the Seattle Kraken favorited minus 165 on the road in St. Louis. We have a 6 total here. The Kraken are coming off a 5-1 loss against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and St. Louis have lost 2 straight games after Binnington has put up great performances in both. Just lost them 3-2 both times. Should be an interesting one. St. Louis is starting to get back a lot of their players that were injured for a 2-3 week period. But how are you looking at this game, Tanner?
Yeah, this is one of the games. There's a few on the slate tonight that I just couldn't quite figure out. I mean, St. Louis, they put Captain on that second line. They kind of shuffled things around a little bit. So I couldn't get a great read on this one. And the Kraken are another one of those teams that I really just couldn't quite figure it out. The only play I genuinely really like from this one is Binnington over 28.5 saves for minus 105. The Blues give up a ton of shots. I mean, that's no surprise. They're averaging almost 40 against over their last 5. Binnington is much of a drama queen as he is. When he's locked in, he's a fantastic goalie and he'll save anything. So that's my favorite play there. I do lean more towards the under here just because teams have been struggling to score. And I think team chemistry, as far as the Blues side, I know they're the home team, get that second change. But looking at some of these lines, I just don't know how they're going to play with, I think they had, I lost it here. But yeah, they've got Kapanen, Buchnevich, and Thomas on the second line, then Kyrou, Shen, and Saad as the first line. I just don't know how they're going to play out together. I wouldn't be shocked to see them come out with different lines every single period for these guys just to see who fits where. Last time the Blues beat them back in October, I think it was, and the Kraken beat them 5-1 last time they played, or 5-2, back in December. That was with Tarasenko and O'Reilly in the lineup, and that was in Seattle. I just couldn't get a great read on this. I just maybe lean the Blues just because they're home, but I would think that would require Binnington to stand on his head, and that's where the save prop comes in.
Sweet. Yeah, I thought an interesting trend that I found for this game is Seattle has covered the puck line the most in the NHL, and the Blues have covered it the least in the NHL this season. So I thought that was a little interesting trend. So Seattle definitely favored in a great spot against the St. Louis team. They allow the third most shots, and every single forward and defenseman on this Kraken team is under 5K. Nate's 5, what are we doing with this shuffle lineup? It's tough to always pick off some guys for DFS lineups, but can you find any for us?
Yeah, this game is kind of gross in my opinion. Actually, there's some really good spots on a 10-game slate. I don't have a ton of interest here, even though I think you can target teams against the Blues the remainder of the year. They just don't want to win. I mean, Benny's going to be the first one to. He's coming off 2 good games here, but I mean, at the end of the day, the Blues just don't want to win hockey games anymore. And I think you can certainly pick some of these pieces off for the Kraken, like a Yanni Gourde. He's been relatively active. He's 3,500, so still a decent price tag there. Jaden Schwartz. Blues are absolutely abysmal versus wings. So I think you can pick any of these wings off against these because they're all cheap against this Blues team. But overall, I think this is kind of like a 3-1 game. I think the Kraken do win it. I don't know if I get to 8,100 Martin Jones in that, I believe. If you really are feeling frisky and think Benny can keep it up, 7,300, go ahead and you can, but I just can't play a head case like Binnington on a team that wants to lose hockey games. I just can't do it. But he's got some upside at that price tag for sure. Just not for me. On the Blues side, I think my most interest for the Blues is actually Colton Parayko. I think this kid's trying to play his way out of St. Louis here. He's very active when he's out there. The D-man, I think he's 4,200, right around that price, which is a solid price tag, I think, for him. So he's got 16, 6, 16, 13, 11, 7 in his last 5. So I think he makes some sense there. Sees about 23, 24 minutes a game, 4,600. That's a fine price tag. Overall, Not a ton of other interest. I mean, Jared McCann, you can always play a guy like Jared McCann. I'm sure Matty will bring him up because, like I said, the Blues are just absolutely terrible against wings. But overall, not a ton of interest here on the 10-game slate.
Well, that was a great transition because I was going to bring up Jared McCann. I know, Matty, you're a big fan of him. He's scored a point in 7 of their last 8 games. Is he a piece that you could maybe pull from this game as a one-off? Or are you doing with anything with these Kraken guys?
Yeah. Any of these Kraken guys, if you're looking for a one-off option or some way to get a little bit weird with the amount of chalk that we have, you can certainly play a McCann. You got Jaden Schwartz coming back to St. Louis, so you can get a little revenge narrative then if you want to go down that route. One thing I want to mention, because Nate's just brought him up, Colton Parayko, there's a good chance he might not play tonight. I'm hearing some rumors about that. There's some workings going on with him. So be sure if you're looking at him tonight, you're checking warm-ups to make sure that he's in the lineup, because I'm hearing teams are hot to trot on him. But for me, I don't have a ton of interest in this game. This is much more of a one-off type game for me. A Jared McCann's, a Matty Beaners, Jaden Schwartz. If you think Benny stays hot, I'm not a huge fan of Bennington. I don't play him a ton. He's an absolute basket case. I prefer guys in net who are a little bit more level-headed than Mr. Bennington. But if you were going to play somebody on this side for the Blues, for me, I think it's Pavel Buchnevich for me. His role is kind of locked in. He's working that top power play. He gets a ton of ice. He works the penalty kill as well, so he's always a threat to score shorthanded. But I just don't love this game. I feel like this is a one-off type game. Something to make your lineup unique. I don't think I want to stack them up. If Parayko for some reason got traded, or they're going to do the injury or player management type thing, I might have a little bit more interest in Seattle, because I think Colton's a huge part of how the Blues play defense, and I think that would be a really hard hole for them to fill on the night. So that, like I said, something to watch, but nothing here that I want to jump on. I slightly lean the Kraken just because I think they're a better team than the Blues are, and I think the Blues are in full fire sale mode. So I'll lean the Kraken here, but it's like I said, for DFS wise, I just don't love it.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. And that's a good point that Matty made. Make sure you're in the Discord, checking up on lineups. We have members and ourselves always posting the lineups before lock, especially coming into this trade deadline. It's really important to make sure you're looking at that. And we have a ton of sellers on this slate. So we might have a lot of guys moving last second, and you don't want to be on one of them going into the slate. So make sure.
Yeah, I mean, typically in NHL, we don't have a ton of moving parts, right? But it's the trade deadline's on Friday, and there's a lot of pieces moving. So, this is the week that you need to pay attention to your lineups to make sure that your guys aren't being, sat for the night to make sure that they're getting, are healthy before they get traded. So just keep an eye on that for the rest of the week. The trade deadline's on Friday, so come Saturday, we'll go back to normal. We're pretty much, set it and forget it. It's not like basketball where you got to, divorce your wife and spend 8 hours in a room every night. So just watch that for the rest of the week.
Cool. So another 8:00 game. We have Pittsburgh Penguins coming off 2 big wins, overtime win, and a 7-goal game. Minus 135 heading into Smashville against the Predators at plus 115. It's a 6.5 total. Nashville's coming off a 3-game win streak as well. Tanner, the last 5 Preds games have gone over the total. What are we looking at in this game? Are we going with the Penguins, the Predators on home ice, and what about the total?
Yeah, I think we hit the over here. The Penguins are one of those teams that the over kind of follows them around. It's getting minus 105 for the over on this. Why not? They just don't play defense, especially that second line. I know how much we talk about targeting them in DFS. Malkin just refuses to play defense. But I was curious, Matty can probably provide a little more insight on which line's going to take the Crosby line. Because I was looking at the lines, and Nashville really doesn't have a defensive forward group at all. And I was like, I mean, their best bet would be like that second line with like Colton Sissons. And are you really going to put Colton Sissons on Cody Glass on Crosby and Gensel? It's just, I couldn't figure it out for them. And I couldn't come up with any props for anyone because whoever's on that line, I obviously wanted to take, shot props as far as like Malkin and Rust and all them, but I couldn't figure out who was going to be on that.
It's hard to say with them. My lean is the Sissons-Brennan line. If it's not them, it's got to be, Granlund and Duchesne. Granlund's always been a good defensive hockey player, and he was on the top PK unit for the Wild for years. I can't imagine they let Zach Sanford chase, Jay Gensel around unless, if that's the case, Gensel might get a hattie tonight.
But yeah, I think with that, I do think we see a lot of goals here. I mean, the Penguins just score goals. Crosby typically has solid games. I was looking at some of the game logs. Malkin doesn't generally have the best history against Nashville. In Nashville, he usually only gets around, maybe 2-3 shots, which for him isn't great. I do think Saros sees a fair amount of shots here. The Predators do give up a decent amount, and the Penguins just shoot the puck constantly. You can get his save prop. It's 29.5, over 29.5 or minus 125. Not the juiciest line for save prop, but I do like that a lot. I think closer to game time, once we get a better idea of who's on what line's taking what, I think I do like the Penguins here. I think the shocker, I know, but after they got a big win against the Lightning the other day, pumped them 7-2 on home ice, and they got goals from a lot of those depth guys like Carter, Bluger. On the defensive side, they got Dumoulin. I just think that's going to give them the jump they need to be a little bit better there. And I love Drew O'Connor. I'm not taking him as a goal scorer. I just mean as a player in general. He just buzzes around the ice and he plays fantastic. I know they just waived McGinn and Friedman. Not the biggest hits there, but definitely something just to keep an eye on as far as who's going to be in the lineup for them. And it could affect things in the depth matchups. I know Nashville could be definitely targeting that. I think we see a lot of goals here. The over is definitely my play here. Like I said, minus 105 for the over 6.5. I know it's Jari and Saros who are, not bad goalies by any means, but the Penguins games, the overs just follow them around. They're always just weird games. So that's where I'm on that one.
Sweet. Yeah, definitely a chance for a ton of goals. Nashville gives up the third most goals, tons of high danger opportunities. Their bottom PK unit. Matty, do you think that you can go to the Penguins here? Or are you scared by Saros at all?
Saros is a stud, don't get me wrong, but this is becoming a more watered down Preds team, in my opinion. I really do like Philip Tomasino's upside. I think he's going to be a really good player. But I like the Pens here. I was deep diving into some Jake Gensel stats yesterday and this morning, and it's funny that I was looking at that because I saw Nades write it in the playbook. He's due for some absolutely positive, massively positive goal progression in his favor. I like him and Sid. If you're looking for a sneaky guy tonight who I think is going to start seeing a little bit more run for the Pens just out of necessity, is Danton Heinen. He's incredibly cheap. He's stone min on DraftKings. He played 13 minutes last game. He's going to work on that second power play. He's skating with Jeff Carter. He's uber cheap here. As for the Preds, one other thing very similar to the Parenko situation is you're going to want to watch them for Matthias Ekholm. There's a lot of rumors that he could be on the move to Edmonton. It's been mentioned in our Discord numerous times today. So I would definitely keep an eye on that. Like I said, all these Preds are cheap. So, I mean, if you're looking to get weird or just off the chalk, that's some of this cheaper chalk, certainly by all means. The Penguins, like Tanner said, they've been leaky as can be. So I have no issue if you want to play a Tomasino. Novak's price is a little bit steep for me. I would probably go with Glass and Tomasino, but Alexandre Carrier, he's very cheap as defenseman. He's usually pretty strong at blocking shots. He's $2,700. But I just, for some reason, I don't love the Preds here. I feel like karma's going to hit him in the face. They just literally, the deal that GM pulled for Gnot is absolutely incredible. They should have a mask and gun. It's literally absolutely ridiculous. But I can't get behind this team. They're a gritty team. They're a young team now. They got a lot of young guys, but I fully believe in the next couple of days the Preds are going to be in full fire sale mode. I believe Ekholm's going to be gone. I wouldn't even be surprised if a contending team who needed a really strong defensive D-man, if Ryan McDonough got moved. I think it's rebuild time there. Sorry, Cape Alec. I know it's probably breaking your heart, but I just don't have a ton of interest in the Preds tonight. Can they score? Sure. But as we were talking about last week, I think it's time for the Penguins to start getting a little mojo going here, and I expect the vets to start stepping up.
Sweet, yeah. I fully expect a Treenen goal or something. I'm sure Nades will have him as core because he is a notable Penguins hater. But are you going to go to them tonight?
Yeah, so this game is kind of interesting. I think we do see goals here. And if you do see, I think I see goals on both sides. And these price tags on these Preds are extremely cheap. We've seen Jari just gave up 4 or 5 the other night. I think when we played him at Stone Min. I forgot who he was playing, but everyone was victory lap, and the Pens were going to smash. And I think they lose in overtime, something like that. But yeah, I mean, Tommy Novak, he's playing very well right now. 10 shots, 5 goals, and 6 assists, which, I mean, he's having really good puck luck right now with 5 goals on 10 shots over his last 5. But he's on the top line, top power play now, with that bump up there. Matt Duchene, same thing. He's extremely aggressive out there. 18 shots, 2 goals, 5 assists over his last 5. He's 5,500. So I don't know if I get to him just because at that price tag, I just like some of these cheaper Preds if I'm going to go to them, like Mikael Granlund, Tommy Novak, Roman Josi. If you are just rich and you have a second mortgage that you can take out to play him, feel free. 9,200, just not for me. I mean, most expensive dude on the slate is a D-man for a team that's about to go in fire sale mode. I just can't do it. It takes a very lot for him to pay off that price tag. Could he do it? Absolutely. I mean, it's Roman the Great, but I can't pay that price tag. I had to write him in the playbook just because if you don't, I'm going to have one dude that's going to come at me. Why didn't you tell me I could play Roman Josi? But so he's in there. Not any interest for me there. But yeah, I do think these Pens definitely are the better side here. It is kind of scary going against Saros on home ice because Saros can stand on his head and can own everyone. So if you have a lean one way or the other and you think Nashville does win this game, you have to imagine that Saros is going to have a really good game at 7,500 and have a pretty solid chance to be optimal at that price tag because he is going to have a lot of saves to do it. I'm seeing kind of conflicting reports right now. Daily Faceoff showing Malkin on the top line, left wing lock showing Crosby on the top line. Not sure what's going on there. But Jake the Snake might be my favorite play from this game. I wrote it in the playbook. Matty did some deep dives on it. It's kind of crazy that I never even talked to him before writing that up, and he was already deep diving into Jake, and I was as well. I mean, the dude's got 1 goal over his last 5. He's 20 minutes ice time, and he's got 17 shots on that. There's some positive regression coming there for him and Raquel, I think, both of them. Raquel doesn't have a goal over his last 5, and he's on that top line there. So I think that top line, whether it's Malkin or Sid, either or, I think makes sense because Malkin still is on that top power play, and the dude is just on an absolute tear. I don't really care about his history with how he's playing right now. I mean, 20 shots on net, 4 goals and 4 assists over his last 5. And he's 6,100, so a nice discount there off of Sid. But you can obviously play Sidney Crosby. It doesn't take me to tell you can play Sidney Crosby. But yeah, definitely think the Pens can score quite a few here. Hopefully, it's not the 50 save Saros that we see on home ice here, and hopefully he doesn't pull a Gibson and own us. But these Pens definitely make a lot of sense, and my main interest is definitely Jake Guentzel and Rickard Raquel, and secondary would be either Sid or Malkin for me.
Crosby is on the top line, guys. I just looked.
Yeah.
Is he? Okay. Yeah, I was seeing Left Wing Lock had him on there based off of Morning Escape, but Daily
So
Faceoff has Malkin.
when they were struggling the other game, they switched the lines. They switched the centers, and that must be a mistake because they're back to normal again.
Okay. Yeah, either way, I still have some interest in Malkin at his price tag because he is still on that top power play with those guys. And then Chris Letang, you can always play Tanger, 6K flat there, sees 23, 24 minutes of ice. He's the quarterback, runs point on that top power play, 14 shots, 2 goals, 3 assists over his last three power play points. So he's definitely a power play specialist there as well. And I definitely think these Pens need to kind of turn the corner here going into the end of the year. And it definitely would start here with kind of a beatdown of these Preds in Nashville here with a team that's about to go into a rebuild. So definitely makes some sense for me.
Yep, definitely a team in need of a win here to push themselves up in the standings. Another team in that Eastern Conference is trying to make a run is the Islanders on the road. First, the Minnesota Wild, minus 140 at XL Energy Center. The total is 5.5, so it's going to be tough to pick out some guys for DFS for this one. Tanner, New York is 4-10 in their last 14 road games, and we know Minnesota is not an easy place to play, especially against the Eck line. How are you feeling for this matchup?
It's going to be a really gross game, I think. I mean, the Islanders, we know they like to just score 1 goal and sit there and not move. They've been better lately, but yeah, if you really want something, I do like the Wild just because they're on home ice and they are so good defensively, and the Islanders have struggled to score, but I have no interest in anything. I hate 5.5 unders. It's minus 144. That is could very easily be a 2-1 game, but I really don't have any interest in this one.
Yep, for sure. And Matt Martin got bumped off the top line, unfortunately.
Oh, what a shame.
Very hurtful.
As a fan, you hate to see that.
So we know the fan base is invigorated now. You have the offense with Marcus Johansson coming in. It's going to be a whole different franchise. But how are you feeling about this matchup, Matty?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Tanner. This is 2 defense first teams. That's just what we're looking at here. If the Isles were at full strength and had Barzal, I would probably lean towards them. If you're playing somebody from this game, it's either Gus Bus or Sorokin, or you're playing a one-off. Obviously, Krill the Thrill, he's always in play. I posted a thing in our Discord this weekend. He's one of 4 players in the NHL who's been involved in over 40% of their team's goals in some way or another, assists or scoring. That's absolutely incredible. He's coming off a Hattie against Columbus in the 3rd period alone on Sunday. Ryan Hartman, you can consider for the Wild. He's cheap. He's 4,400. He's been playing well. He's getting a ton of ice time, anywhere from 17 to 20 minutes. And then Joel Eriksson-Ek, he's going to face off with Bo tonight, but he's only $5,400. He plays anywhere from 19 to 22 minutes a night. He's on every special teams unit we have. And for the Islanders, if you're looking for a few one-offs, if you want to play narratives, Brock Nelson, Minnesota boy. Anders Lee, captain of the Islanders, Minnesota boy. And you have Zach Parise coming home. All their families will be in the building tonight. A little bit of a homecoming for them. So not my favorite game from a DFS standpoint for me. It's either goalies or throwing a one-off. We just have some much better options, but I'm hoping my boys can pull out a win at home tonight.
Yep. So Minnesota struggled to score, pretty much only Kaprizov over the past couple games. That Islanders has a 1.66 expected goals together. So not a great matchup here for goal scoring, and a ton of red on the matchup sheet for you, Nadesify. Are you rolling with your numbers and avoiding the spot?
Yeah, I just don't see a need to target a 5.5 total on a 10-game slate when we have 2 sevens and some other juicy matchups here. My only interest here would be Gus Bus, and that he's been absolutely incredible. I think the Wilds do win the game because they are on home ice here.
Nate, We got another trade. We got Rasmus Sandin going to the Caps for Eric Gustafsson and a first rounder.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
I thought Eric Gustafsson was playing pretty good hockey. I wonder why they decided to trade him.
I'm quite surprised that they got Gustafsson and a first rounder.
For freaking Rasmus Sandin. Wow.
Yeah.
These GMs are literally off their rockers, but
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you, but just came across. Let the people know. So
yeah, I just saw that too. Good job for Toronto because they just found their top power play guy, I think, in Gustav there. But yeah, going back to this, I mean, Gus Bus and Nat probably might be one of my favorite goalies. He's just been absolutely playing great. The only issue is I think he does lack some upside here just because the Islanders literally play in their wheelchairs, it feels like, and just crawl to the finish line, especially if they are, for whatever reason, holding the lead here. So the upside's kind of capped. Islanders shoot right around 28 times per game. And Minnesota does limit shots on net, especially on home ice too. But you can play a guy like Ryan Hartman. Pretty much my only interest here for the game, if you're trying to play a one-off or any skaters, would be Ryan Hartman, Eriksson Ek, Matt Boldy, or obviously Krill the Thrill. You can always play him, but he is pretty expensive here, and it is against the Islanders. He doesn't have the greatest history as well against the Islanders, but dude of his caliber can always be a threat to score a couple of times here. And either Sorokin's really good or he's really bad. So depending on what we see there, he certainly has some upside. But Ryan Hartman, Ek, and Boldy all have pretty fair price tags. Overall, not a ton of interest, and I think we can move on.
Sweet. Yeah, we'll go to our last game at 8 o'clock. The LA Kings wrapping up their road trip. They went 1-2-1. They'll be wrapping it up on the road in Winnipeg, who is a minus 130 favorite. We have a 6 total. So Kings are dropping a few here the past couple games. The Jets have dropped 5 of their last 6. Nades Fi, is there any pieces that you're interested in here? I know Nino Niederreiter is pretty cheap on that top power play. Who are some of the guys that you're interested in this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, Nino, that's just, I mean, what are DraftKings must have been hanging out with these GMs at the bar or something, because I mean, min price for him, getting top power play run here for the Jets. I mean, he's less expensive than Chandler Giroux, but apparently Giroux is the greatest player in the league. I mean, they literally got a whole second team, it feels like, for Giroux. But yeah, he's a great play. Overall, I mean, looking at the numbers here, the Kings are 29th in the league in expected goals against on the road, so they are pretty solid. They do have a pretty decent power play penalty kill as well, and they give up the least high danger chances as well in the league. And on the flip side of that, Winnipeg's right there with them at sitting right around 10 high danger chances each per game. But Nino, certainly you can make a case for him. He's got 4 goals, 11 shots over his last 5, and he's min price. Not really sure what's going on there. He's going to see anywhere from probably 17 to 19 minutes, depending on how many penalties there are and how much power play time he does get. Certainly you can play him. We know our guy Bobby Boom and Chat's going to be absolutely yanking his crank down there to this. This is his 2 favorite teams here. So he's going to be going nuts in Chat. Overall, I don't have a ton of interest in this game. I know Matty broke this down in the playbook, so maybe he has some different leans. But outside of Nino, I think this game kind of plays slower. It is only a 6 total. Kings are a pretty good defensive team, and both of these teams are pretty good at limiting high danger chances as well. And the underlying metrics are pretty solid here as well. So not a ton of interest, and I'll let Matty kind of round it out.
yeah, I mean, for me, it's pretty simple here. I think these are 2 pretty good hockey games. I don't know where Tanner's leading on this one when it comes to bets, but my gut tells me this one goes under tonight. Coldplay's been pretty good. Helly's been absolutely fantastic. Obviously, Nino Niederreiter being Stone Min is just idiotic. just really dumb. So it's very apparent that they have big plans for him. They've moved him to the top line and top power play. One thing I would mention is that PLD is a game time decision tonight. He did practice yesterday, but did not practice this morning. That's something to watch. If he doesn't go, I would be really interested to see what the lines look like. Are they going to move Scheifele to that top line? How are they going to do it center wise? Because I don't think Nino is a excellent creator of space for himself. He's very much a guy who likes to be in front of the net, and that's where he makes his hay. I think he needs somebody that's a playmaker with him. So if PLD ended up sitting, just for instance, and they ended up putting like an Adam Lowry or something like that, I think I would have far less interest in Nino, even with him being on the top power play. On the King side, for me, it's Kevin Fiala. He's been absolutely fantastic with this $10 million in cap space the Wild had. I wish we would have just kept him. Gabe Velarde's still cheap. He's running on that third line. He's $3,900. He's getting top power play run. You can't really go wrong with that. But like I said, I think the matchup's tough here. I think Winnipeg's a decent team. They're a scrappy team. I don't love this one outside of Nino, personally. I think you can take shots at Helly or Copley, just depending on what side of the game you fall on. If you're on the Kings, obviously I would fade Nino. If you're on Helly, then Nino makes a lot of sense.
Sweet. Yeah. Mentioning Adam Lowry, that's a real boner killer right there.
Yeah, right?
He is quite a player. So I think Matty mentioned this, but he's leaning the under here. The over-under in Winnipeg this year on home ice, 6, 20, and 4. So Tanner, do you like that under as well?
Yeah, like you're saying, these are two teams that can lock it down. Winnipeg, I do lean Jets here just because I have a really, really hard time fading Connor Hellebuck on home ice. He's a top 3 goalie in the league in my opinion. He's just a freak when he's locked in. And yeah, just looking at the matchup sheet, I mean, no high danger chances, both penalty kills over 80%. Even if you get that on the power play, neither team really gives up penalties. They don't allow shots. It's just everything's very limited. It's just kind of a gross game. I did want to mention Nino Niederreiter just for his point because it's plus 102 on FanDuel. It's just a guy in that position. It's just a good value play as far as the props go. But yeah, pretty gross game. I think we get a low score here. I know the last game was 6-4. That was back in October though, so it's just kind of, you can't really count that as a sample for this. So I like the under on this one, but yeah, I didn't have a ton of interest in this one. It's just goal scores were hard to find. These are another 2 teams with the top 2 lines all seem to you get goals from all over the place. It's just tough to tell. So not a lot of interest from me.
Yeah, Tanner, you mentioned Hellebuck. He's 16-8 with a 2.12 goal against average and a .930 save percentage at home. He's been very good.
He's a freak on home ice. So I just have such a hard time fading them. So if you want a winner, I like the Jets. But yeah, the under is my favorite play on this one.
For sure. And Hellebuck's coming off a game where he let in 5 goals. I don't see that happening again.
No.
All right, we're heading into the 9 o'clock part of the slate. We have the Bruins on a back-to-back, just coming off a great win against the Oilers. This one kind of fits our first period bet that we typically look at, and the over has hit in the first period for 8 straight Flame home games. The Bruins are definitely a different beast, and they'll have Ullmark in net, but Tanner, do you like that first period bet? And what's your look on this game as a whole?
I think you can take the first period, maybe the goal's over, but I just think the Flames are frauds. I've taken them a few times for that first period play, and they just don't get it done. I know the Bruins are on a back-to-back, but that just makes me like Ullmark save prop more because the Flames shoot it a ton. It's at 30.5. You get minus 105. I mean, Ullmark's been playing super well, but yeah, this is definitely, I'm on the Bruins again here, as much as that pains me to say. I felt my heart convulse a little bit there, but I do like the under too as well. I mean, it's right at 6. You get minus 120. I just don't think we see a ton of goals here. The Flames just being on a back-to-back, I ended up the Bruins like to slow things down. What they spent all of yesterday chasing around McDavid, as good as you can chase around McDavid. So they might have a little bit of tired legs here. So I don't know how much offense they're going to produce. So maybe a 2-1, 3-1 type game. Allmark's been playing well. So I like the Bruins here with the under, but the Allmark save prop is definitely my favorite here. I think he's going to have a solid game. And like I said, with the Bruins being a little tired, the Flames are going to skate around a little bit, but they just shoot the puck so much that I think he's going to see decent volume.
Yep. So we have 3 solid lines on the Bruins. Flames are super susceptible to even strength and power play. Looking at the matchup sheet, Nades 5, where would you go on this Bruins team?
Yeah, I mean, the Bruins get Darth Vladar here in net for the Flames after coming off a nice win in Edmonton. They're on a 7-game winning streak here, and I think the Flames are terrible. So I don't see them stopping Boston. If it does, there's going to be an investigation going on, and we might need to get a welfare check on our guy Nuggets in chat. But yeah, I mean, can you play Pasta? Yeah, you can, but I mean, he's 9,100, and I don't love that price tag. He does have decent history here. But my interest kind of on the Bruins, if I do go to them overall, I'm probably not going to get to them because I do think this game plays slower. Boston, I don't know if this is their last road game on this road trip or not. But I think they're just going to want to get out of here with a win and just continue their winning streak here. They're in the East is, especially now with these trades going on to the East. I mean, the East is literally just death row. Murderer's row for the come playoff time with these trades going on. So I think they definitely want to kind of sneak out of here and just grab a win and not try and overexert themselves too much. Jake DeBrusk, 6,900. He's pretty reasonably priced there. Marchand, Bergeron, same thing. All 3 of those guys I think make some sense here. Fully correlate as well. And then my one kind of sneaky low-owned guy here for Boston, if you want kind of a one-off, is Pavel Zacha. I do think he can pot one here tonight. He's 3,600, does get second power play run as well. Has pretty solid history as well. I typically like these second liners more on the road as well. So I don't mind a stab at him. He's been playing good hockey right now as well. On the Flame side, don't have a ton of interest. If I go to anyone, it would be this third line here, just because at their price tags, they're decently priced. Mangiapane, 3,700. That's a fair price tag there. Blake Coleman, Mikhail Backlund. But overall, probably not going to get to this game much, if any. Maybe a one-off on Zacha there, but that's about it.
Nice. Yeah, this is a line that's started off the season slow, but their first line now is responsible for 7 goals in the last 5 games. They're definitely priced up in this matchup, but Matty, do you think you can go to any of these Bruin guys?
I'm not going to. I mean, the Bruins, they're just a damn grinder, man. They just chew you up and spit you out. I don't think I'd go here. Can the Bruins pop? Absolutely. I don't think the Flames are a good team. I've been on that hill all year. I'll die on that hill. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I just don't think they're a very good hockey team. If I was taking some shots at Boston here, for me tonight, it would be the third line. And the reason that is you got to start getting into that line matching stuff, right? And the Flames on paper have a decent 3 lines, but their top priority is going to be getting their matchup on Bergeron and then the Pasta line. I think Charlie Coyle and Nick Foligno are sneaky plays tonight. And, I'm not saying like a cash or single entry type, game, but I'm in more of a large field GPP. Nick Foligno's still getting second unit power play run. He's seen around 13 minutes. And Charlie Coyle's always been a sneaky good player. He's not going to get any power play time, but he is working the PK. For me, the Boston pieces are too expensive for me. If they were at home, I might have a little bit more interest where they could dictate matchup. But if I end up somewhere here, my guess would be it would be Nick Foligno, just because he's cheap, and I think they end up with a decent matchup. But from a DFS standpoint, it's just hard for me to get excited here. Allmark's been fantastic. This is I see it being like a 3-1, 3-2 game. Tomas Nosak's going to score, and you're going to be like, what the hell just happened? That's just how Boston is. So I just don't have a ton of excitement here for this one. Like Nate said, can you play pasta? Sure, absolutely you can. But I think you're trying to, you're grasping for straws at that point with so many other elite matchups on the slate.
Yeah, I definitely like that third line call for some deep GPP action. I think that's a solid take for sure. All right, our final game at 9:00. I'm going to title this one The Battle for Connor Bedard. We have the Chicago Blackhawks, who just moved on from their key piece, key cog, in their Stanley Cup victories. Patrick Kane is moving over to the Rangers, and that team is taking on the Arizona Coyotes in the smallest arena of all time at minus 180. We have a 6 total here. Nazify, the Blackhawks have lost 11 of their last 12 second leg of a back-to-back. Is this going to be their 12th?
Yeah, I think so. I just think the Kane move just is an extra insult to injury here for these guys. Morale wise, I mean, Domi and these guys were actually playing. I mean, the Blackhawks went on a little bit of a win streak there as of late on the back of Patrick Kane, right? And he was kind of still showing the league that, hey, I still got it. I think he's going to be a good piece out there in New York for the Rangers, a good wing. They're going to have a lot of good wingers now with Patrick Kane out there. And he showed that he still has it. Overall, I just think this destroys the morale here of Chicago. I was on him last night. Got the Anthony goal, and Domi had a decent game there as well. But Domi is playing great hockey. He is still 4,700. You can still score in these Yotes. I will tell you right now, I mean, Carol the Great, I'm not paying 8,400 for Veggie here. I'll tell you that right now. So that's one thing off the top. I will not be playing Veggie at 8,400. I don't care if he is playing the Blackhawks. If he lets up a couple, he's just not going to have the upside. And that price tag is a joke compared to some of these other goalies on this slate. Max Domi, 4,700. Certainly you can go back to him. You can go back to Anthony as well. He's playing some pretty good hockey there. Tyler Johnson still remains cheap, gets top power play run. Cole Gutman here, I always laugh every time he does something because Joda, our guy in chat, posts the best gif possible. The dude literally dropping his gut on the counter every time Gutman does anything here. I believe he's a rookie. Sure, if you want to go to him, you can. But my interest mainly here is on the Yotes and mainly that top line here with Nick Schmaltz, Barrett Hayton, Clayton Keller. I think they all have great upside here. They're all playing well, very good hockey right now. And they're going to be playing literally the AHL squad here in the Blackhawks. And I believe they have Stalock in net as well, which doesn't scare me off too much. Last time we seen these two play in Arizona was last year, and it was 6-4 with the Yotes kind of handling them pretty good. Obviously, that doesn't mean too much, but I do think they win this. And you can certainly play Ghost, but I think Valimaki, he is still going to get that top line, top power play run as well. For whatever reason, he's still up there, and he's $1,400 cheaper than Ghost is. And I still don't see a ton of interest going to the Yotes. People just don't like to play them. But they are playing the Blackhawks, and the Blackhawks give up the 4th most shots in the league. They give up over 15 high danger chances a game. And this top line is playing really well for Arizona, especially on home ice. So definitely on the Yotes here, and mainly that top line is my interest.
Yep, definitely the top line's in a great spot. If we know anything about Nick Schmaltz, the man runs hot. When he's playing well, he's playing really well, and he has 3 goals in 3 games. Matty, is that top line a stack that you're trying to get to tonight?
I mean, the issue for me is price here, right? I think the matchup is really good. But Clayton Keller's 6,600, Schmaltz is 58. Even Lawson Krause is up to $4,700. So, back when we first started playing, when we first started playing the Yotes, these outside of Keller, these guys were all really, really cheap. It's an interesting spot for them at home, I'll say that. Very similar to Parenko and the other gentleman. I'm hearing a lot of rumors about Nick Schmaltz as well, too. So he's another guy that you're going to want to watch to make sure that's in the lineup. Outside of that, I don't think I go to this game a ton. I can never get Alex Stalock right. So he was a wild goalie for many years, and then he's kind of bounced around the league. I stack against him. He's an absolute animal. And then I play him, and he'll give up 7 goals. So he's just kind of he's one of my nemesis when it comes to goalies. On the Blackhawks side, they're all cheap. Pick your poison, kind of like Nades did last night. You can look at Radish, you can look at Anthony, you can look at Gust or whatever. Caleb Jones. They're all cheap. Caleb Jones might be my favorite just because he's $3,100. He's blocking shots at a pretty good rate. He's had at least 3 blocks in his last 5 games. Which is just fine for his price. If he gets the block bonus at $3,000, you've made your hay. But this is not a game where I think we have 2 turds that turns into a diamond. I just think this is 2 turds.
It seems like that's how all these matchups always are, especially between 2 teams that barely have 20 wins on the season. I mean, the last 2 matchups they've had, Chicago has won both of them. Stalock got a shutout, so just goes to show, like, all over the place in these types of matchups. But Tanner, is there anything you can pick out from these 2 teams playing?
Yeah, that the Blackhawks stink. I'm just looking at their roster, and I can name maybe 4 of them that deserve to be on an actual NHL team. It's a pitiful lineup. I just think the Yotes give it to them tonight. I know they're 0-2 against them on the year, but I don't mind the puck line at all. Plus 140 for them. Like you said, they're on a back-to-back. They stink on back-to-back. Vejmelka versus Stalock, it's just Vejmelka, we've seen him stand on his head against teams much better than the Blackhawks. So I like that. I do like the Arizona top line there. Nick Schmaltz is plus 205 as a goal scorer. Like I said, when he runs hot, he runs very hot. So I like that payout a lot for him. Clayton Keller, another guy I'm a big fan of tonight. He's a water bug out on the ice. He's just average, plus 176 to score. I like his shot prop. It's over 2.5 or minus 130. Going the other way, I do like Max Domi. He's the one guy in the Blackhawks who's been playing really well lately. So I don't mind him. His shot prop is same as Keller. It's over 2.5. You get minus 140 for him as a goal scorer. He's plus 190. And I know Andreas Athanasiou scored last night. I don't mind him again if you do like the Blackhawks here at plus 240. I prefer the Coyotes side of things just because I think that top line is going to get some great looks. And where'd it go? Yeah, Nick Schmaltz is my favorite there. Plus 205 for a guy that's playing the way he is. Hopefully he doesn't get traded because that's probably my play of the day there. I think he's going to have a fantastic night tonight.
Well, at least it'll get voided.
Yeah.
In daily fantasy, you can't void your entry, unfortunately. But we will end the slate on an absolute banger at 10:30. We got the Montreal Canadiens plus 145 heading into SAP Center, taking on the San Jose Sharks. It's going to be a real barn burner, a real fight for the playoffs here, in a 6.5 total. Tanner, the Sharks are 19-6-2 on the over at home. Does that excite you at all? Do you want to throw anything in on the over there?
I'll be honest, I barely even looked at this game before just because I saw the 2 teams and I was just like, I don't really know. These are 2 teams, the Canadiens have had every injury known to man, and the Sharks are still selling people. They're selling guys. I don't mind, maybe taking a stab at some point props if you can find them for Zetterlund, and I don't remember who else they brought over from the Devils there, because the rumor is that they're going to get a decent amount of ice time tonight to get them acclimated. So
Andreas Johansson.
There you go. Yeah, it's just guys like that. But I definitely am on the Shark side of things here. They're just as crazy it is. They're the better team. I mean, Montreal on the road is just terrible. They're getting outshot by an average of 10. You take a stab at Jake Allen's save prop at 29.5 or minus 105. I don't mind that. He stands on his head. RPS hero. We talk about him all the time. But beyond that, yeah, maybe there's some goals tonight just because neither of these teams are good defensively. It's just so hard to tell. This Canadian team just had my number. Every time I say something about them, they're the new Blackhawks to me, because every time I used to speak on them, they would just come and shove it up my hoop. But the Canadiens seem to be the new team doing that. So maybe take a stab at the parlay, the Sharks money line if this wants to load for me with the over. It doesn't really want to. Here we go. Even at 6.5 with the Sharks money line, you get plus 155. I don't mind that really. I mean, I do expect there to be some goals. I'd be shocked if this is a 3-1 type game. And that just, I don't know, it doesn't really seem the games we've been seeing from these teams lately. So the last game against it was in Montreal, and it was 4-0 San Jose. It's just hard to argue against that, especially when Montreal is one of my favorite, dogs at home. I think they're a scrappy team. There's just too many injuries on this one.
Cool. Yeah, weird situation for DFS. The first line for Montreal was playing pretty well, and now it looks like they put the lines in a blender. Looks like, at least on daily faceoff, that Goryanov is going to move up to the first line with Suzuki and Hoffman, which I don't get. And then obviously we have the situation with San Jose moving Meyer. They have the new guys that Tanner just mentioned, Zetterlund and Johansson on that second line with Hurdle. So, Matty, with all of these lineups being all over the place, is there anything that you can find through all the madness?
Yeah, I mean this is ugly. This is ugly as it gets, guys. The thing that's the only saving grace here in this game, right, is we probably think we see some goals, and there's still some cheap options in this game. Yeah, you got Dennis Gurianov coming over from Dallas to Montreal, even though I think he's an absolute dumpster fire. He's stone min, and they said they want to give him top 6 minutes. So, even though I wouldn't let him play on my kid's 13-year-old junior team, Montreal wants to let him ride. So, he's $2,500. Jordan Anderson, Josh Anderson from Montreal. He's always in play for me. He's always 4K and under. He's a solid player. He gets big minutes, power play time. One guy I would be remiss not to mention who's been playing really, really good hockey, and I think he's an interesting GPP play tonight, is Mike Matheson. He's playing big minutes. He's played 27 minutes, 24 minutes in 2 of the 3 last games, and he scored over 15.5 DraftKings points in all 3 of those games. It seems as long as the game is decently somewhat close, St. Louis is rolling him out as much as he can. For the Sharks, it's our usual suspects. It's Erik Karlsson, Logan Couture, Thomas Hurdle. I did see this morning it looked like they had Fabian Zetterlund on the top power play, but after obviously that was just a guess because they're on the West Coast. Now that their morning skate has started and we're in the afternoon, it actually looks like he's going to be on the second power play. He's still going to play a ton, obviously. Their GM said that they want to get those boys top 6 run and plenty of ice, but obviously it's not as great of a spot if he's going to be on that second power play unit. Another little cheapie that you might have interest in tonight, as the Sharks shuffled their D-men, is Mario Ferraro. He's quite cheap, $2,700. He's going to be skating with EK. Obviously, EK is an incredibly offensive, talented defenseman. And I always, if I'm looking for a cheapie, if I'm not looking for somebody who's just going to block 3 shots, I'm looking for somebody who's skating with a really good offensive, defenseman, because you just wind up picking apples, that's just the way it goes. So he's $2,700. The matchup's good for him. I wouldn't mind taking a shot at him tonight either.
Yeah, and it looks like Johansson is also on that second power play, just for those wondering.
What did he come back and play like 1 game for New Jersey, and then they just benched him? And
yeah, it's rough life out there, man. And I think I would keep tabs on Erik Karlsson as well. I know there's been a lot of rumors about him. I would tend to think that he probably won't get traded tonight, but always a possibility. So just be safe than sorry.
I think the contract's the issue there, right? But I mean, look what Tanner Gino got. So I guess you never know.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a crazy game here, but Nate's Fi, can you find any guys that you like from this matchup?
Yeah, I actually like these Sharks quite a bit here, which is kind of crazy to see, but but we've been targeting Montreal all year long, and especially with Caulfield out and I don't think it changes here, especially on the road. Heading into San Jose here. I mean, they're third in the league in expected goals against. They give up the third most shots. They give up the third most high danger chances. And I understand that these Sharks are kind of this skeleton squad here. But I still have some interest. I still think they can score. Barabanov, sorry, I probably butchered that too, but he's 4,300. Looks like he's on the top line, top power play, if I'm seeing this correctly. I think he makes some sense. Logan Couture, Erik Karlsson obviously makes some sense, but I actually have a min price guy here, and I think this is a nice pivot off. I think everyone goes to Nino, but Evgeny Svechnikov here. He gets the second power play run. He's got 11 shots, 3 goals, and an assist over his last 5 games. And he's min price 2,500 playing Montreal here. I think he definitely makes some sense. I mean, he scores you a goal at 2,500. You're swimming. So I think you can, and if you really want to get kind of crazy here, pair him with Bonino there on that third line. Bonino's 10 shots and a goal over his last 5. So I definitely like that quite a bit there. Easimont, you can certainly play him. He's been good all year. Pair him with Couture there and Barabanov. I can't pronounce that name for whatever the life of me. But yeah, I mean, these guys are late hammers. They're all cheap. And I know for a fact I want to play Tampa. I know for a fact I want to play some of these other guys. So you need some fillers. And I think you can definitely pick them out here. I don't know if I get to Erik Karlsson. 7,400, yeah, it's a great spot. But typically I don't spend up at D-men too much outside if I'm doing an absolute like full power play stack and the power play matchup is elite. But certainly you can play him. On the Montreal side, Josh Anderson and Mike Matheson are my 2 favorite dudes. Matty hit it on the head there. I wrote him in the playbook. Josh Anderson continues to produce, continues to do great things. He's leading this team in shots per game, and he's 4K. Gets top power play run as well. Matheson, same thing. If he's not blocking shots, he's firing the puck, shoots it a ton, gets power play run as well. And then one other guy, Mike Hoffman, still 4,200, top line there, top power play. You can certainly play that, but definitely on the Shark side here. And if you want a little spicy bet here, I got Sharks money line and Svechnikov to score at plus 500 for the people. So I think the Sharks wing, and I think Svech scores.
You gotta go with Barabanov now that you butchered.
No, I can't. I don't want to say his name again because I can't say it. I can't pronounce it. So I'm not gonna go down that road.
You don't want to make him the dyslexic play of the day.
Yeah, yeah. I'll leave that to one of you guys. But yeah, I definitely think this is a good game, and it's the late night hammer, and I've had some good success over the last week, 2 weeks, having some PMR left late and climbing the leaderboard. So certainly have some interest for sure.
Yep. Definitely an interesting game to pick some cheap pieces out of. But yeah, that'll do it for the slate. Real quick, Colin just asked Ottawa stack too chalky. I see them coming in at 19% as a stack. So they're like, in 10th in ownership for stacks. So no, it won't be too chalky at all. But we will finish out with plays of the day. We'll start with Tanner. What is your play of the day?
Yeah, I mentioned it. Nick Schmaltz with Arizona Coyotes to win, plus 225 on DraftKings. I don't remember what his goal prop was on FanDuel, but I think it paid out almost a similar result. I think it was like plus 200 or something over there. So Schmaltz is the play of the day. We got a little extra juice on FanDuel with the Yotes to win as well.
Love it. Matty, what is your play of the day, and is there a top stack that you're looking at? You're on mute.
I'm not going to give you guys anything that juicy today, but I am going to give you some free money. Take the Boston Bruins to win, minus 135. It's free money, and have drinks on me tonight.
Love it. All right, and we'll finish out. Nays 5, what is your play of the day?
Yeah, the mispronunciation king play of the day here is going to be the Sharks one that I just said I like quite a bit, but I'm actually gonna lock arm in arm here with my guy Matty and add Pavel Zacha to score, Bruins to win plus 475.
Ooh.
So we are all over the Bruins today for sure. Thanks for sticking with us. I know it was a long show, but we really appreciate it. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Stay tuned. In just about 15 minutes, we'll have our NBA shows starting. So make sure you stay tuned for those two. For Tanner, Nadesify, Matty, I'm Jared. Good luck tonight and have a good one. See you later.